We're not going to be a depleted military anymore. From now on, it's going to be America first. This destructive cycle of intervention and chaos must finally, folks, come to an end.
All right, Donald Trump last night talking about America first and his plan not only to protect jobs, but when it comes to our military to beef it up substantially. Lo and behold, all of this, the very same week we learned that when it comes to military spending, we can be a little sloppy with it, about $125 billion sloppy. That's how much redundancies and waste were built into the budget. And the Defense Department, we're told, at least the Washington Post and others reporting, reluctant to reveal that, even though it was the Defense Department that asked for the study that confirmed that. So to former Republican Senator Jim DeMint, who in his days in Washington and now at Heritage doesn't like any waste, even if it's in defense. Very good to see you, sir. What do you make of this? I'm sure you want a strong defense. Everyone does. And then, lo and behold, we come to discover that the extra money we want to commit to defense already blows through quite a bit of that.
There's waste throughout the government, Neil. We've done a number of studies at Heritage. I mean, we know it's there. It's just hard to get Congress to go through and cut it out. So we need every agency to be challenged to root out this waste, particularly at a time when we need a lot more money for our military, which has been in serious decline during the Obama administration, to make sure that every penny we spend for defense actually makes our country stronger.
And apparently to the tune of $125 billion, even if you don't buy that total figure, okay, about a quarter of it is wasted. Now, it always happens that when any Republicans love military spending and always like to commit more military spending. Democrats, social programs, infrastructure more to the point. But we spend over $100 billion a year on infrastructure, so I've always wondered, I know you have, let's first discover what happened to that money before we add to that pile of money. Don't Republicans risk playing the same game when it comes to their pet projects like military spending?
Well, the military is not a pet project of the Republican Party. It's part of the constitutional responsibilities of the federal government to defend the country.
I understand that, but it's also $600 billion a year, right?
It is, but we play a leadership role throughout the world, and frankly, we can save a lot of money and a lot of lives if we are strong and ready to protect our interests here at home and around the world. But that doesn't excuse waste. And we cannot continue to ask for more money for military or transportation or anything without serious oversight from Congress to look at the waste. I mean, we produce waste books here and look at all of the waste and absurd spending in government, but year after year we do very little or nothing about it. And I hope the Trump administration, and I believe he will from the people he's putting around him, will actually get in and look at a lot of this waste, just like he's done with Air Force One. If it sounds like a ridiculous figure of spending, it probably is.
Now, what are your thoughts on just the debt and the deficit? And almost everything we're told will be, we're not going to be concentrating on the deficit in the first year or two. It's all about giving the economy a boost, and that might mean more infrastructure spending. It might mean more tax cuts. And so you'll have a dip in revenues as a result before you have a spurt in them, as we did with the Reagan years. What do you think of that?
Well, the debt is a big drag on the economy, Neil. If we can continue to ignore it, it's going to continue to drag our economy down. It's like throwing a wet blanket on it. We can do the things that Donald Trump has talked about, such as improve our infrastructure, without a lot of new federal spending that generally gets back to the states and gets wasted. The gas taxes collected
infrastructure, Jim? I mean, that would be in your group that you wouldn't commit to that right away?
Sure. I mean, devolving a lot of the power for transportation back to the states where they collect the gas taxes, instead of sending all of those gas taxes or most of them to Washington and then have all of these rules and regulations attached to them, let the states keep most of their gas taxes and spend it the way that they prioritize them. So there's a lot of waste every time that money takes a loop through Washington, and we can keep Donald Trump's promises of infrastructure, but we don't need to spend $1 trillion and throw it down a rat hole like President Obama did. That very little of that money ended up on roads and bridges.
That's a good point. Jim DeMint, always good having you. I hope you have a Merry Christmas. Be well.